from Los Angeles, California, weighing in at 249 pounds, the Prototype!
Tell you what, he's got a brilliant future in this profession.
A prototype of the perfect man.
This kid has got the guts. He's got that ruthless aggression.
Character is the wrong word. I don't think he had one.
It was a golden opportunity and one of the biggest misses in my WWE tenure.
When people debate on who the GOAT of professional wrestling truly is, John Cena's name no doubt deserves to be on top of that list. But before becoming the face of the franchise for almost 2 decades, a record-breaking 17-time world champion, and the Hollywood megastar that we all love or hate today, he was once simply known as the Prototype. A gimmick so bland and forgettable, it nearly got him fired from WWE after just being there for less than a year. So what exactly happened? How did John Cena overcome such a rough start to his career? With all the craziness that's been happening with his farewell run, it's about time we look back at the gimmick that started it all and how it almost ended his career before it even took off. After working multiple odd jobs in his younger years, most notable of which being a competitive bodybuilder, John Felix Anthony Cena decided to move to California from his hometown of West Newbury, Massachusetts in order to pursue a career in professional wrestling. He would officially start his training in 1999 at the Ultimate University, a wrestling school managed by the now defunct indie promotion called Ultimate Pro Wrestling. It took roughly a year of rigorous training and wrestling in local flea markets before he finally became an active in-ring competitor at UPW. Adopting the name Prototype for his Terminator-like physique, he would wrestle his first official match on November 11th of 1999 against a team of literal jobbers called Jobbers R Us in a handicap squash match. Being a 6-foot, 250-pound beast of a man, the Prototype managed to outmuscle almost all of his opponents, finishing them off with his patented spin-out powerbomb, a move which would later become a staple of his 5 moves of doom. He would continue to wrestle for UPW until March of 2001, during which he was given the chance to compete for WWF through a series of tryout matches. Someone in the back clearly saw potential in the Raw prospect, as he would later be signed to a developmental deal with the company, moving over to the Kentucky-based developmental territory called OVW. There, the Prototype would be paired with another future WWE superstar Enrico Constantino, and with the help of their manager Kenny Bolin as part of Bolin Services, the pair rose atop of the tag division in short order, winning the OVW Southern Tag Team titles in just their 3rd televised match. While clearly playing second fiddle to the more experienced Rico, he would periodically show flashes of that all-time great talker he would eventually become during their promo segments.
You want to spend your time talking about the next big thing? Move the time slot to 2 a.m. and talk about what's in my pants.
Unfortunately, the two wouldn't find much success after winning the belts, notably losing to a young Mark Henry and Randy Orton in a live event before dropping the titles just 2 months later in a dark match against the more formidable team of Shelton Benjamin and Brock Lesnar. It wasn't long after that the Prototype would part ways with Rico, going on a hot streak as a singles competitor and eventually landing himself a title shot against Leviathan, also known as Batista, for the OVW Heavyweight Championship, their first one-on-one encounter in the record books. It was here where we saw just how outmatched the Prototype was against the champion, as he got dominated by Leviathan for most of the match. However, with the help of his associates and their antics, the Prototype managed to steal a victory and become the new OVW Heavyweight Champion. Now the top dog of the promotion, the Prototype and the rest of Bolin Services would do their damnedest to try and keep him there, bending the rules to their favor and using the numbers game to their advantage whenever possible. He successfully defended the belt against any and all comers for almost 3 months, even beating Leviathan again during a live event. Ultimately though, his ego would prove to be his undoing, as he was goaded into a title match by the future Simon Dean and lost the belt in a huge upset. By June of 2002, the Prototype had garnered enough attention from upper management that he was being primed for a main roster call-up. And so, he would wrestle a bunch of house shows and dark matches for both Raw and SmackDown, competing against a who's who of main roster talent. He would still periodically show up in OVW though, with his last televised match happening in November 6th of 2002, where he teamed up with Charlie Haas and Big Boss Man to defeat the trio of Lance Cade, Rene Dupree, and Sean O'Haire. But going back a few months earlier, the prototype, now going by his real name John Cena, would make his main roster debut on the June 27th episode of SmackDown. Answering Kurt Angle's open challenge, he was asked by the Olympian what's the one quality he possesses that makes him think he can come out to the ring and face the very best in the business, to which John responded in the most shocking way.
Ruthless aggression.
He then proceeded to beat the living crap out of Angle, showing his ruthless aggression, and almost got the upset victory at several points in the match. However, the Olympic hero would manage to weather the storm and pick up the victory with a roll-up. And after a solid showing, Cena would try and extend his hand to Angle as a sign of respect, to which Angle blew off in disgust. While John didn't get the respect he was looking for from the Olympic hero in the ring, backstage though, it was a different story. As Bruce Pritchard would recall it, many of the guys at the back were impressed by Cena's debut, so much so that they were lining up to shake his hand. On top of that list was none other than The Undertaker, who went out of his way to give John his personal endorsement. However, Cena would quickly come to realize that just adding a little bit of ruthless aggression to his prototype gimmick isn't enough to stand out in a sea of burgeoning talent. In the week following his explosive debut, John would interrupt a conversation between Vince McMahon and Chris Jericho in the chairman's office, angering Y2J, who proceeded to mock the young upstart's getup. Not taking shit from anybody, Cena would do his best Will Smith impression and slap the taste out of Jericho's mouth. This began a short feud between the two, with the match being made for later that night. John once again showed that he can hang with the top talent in the ring, producing a good back and forth match that made him look like $1 million even in a loss. After the match, Jericho surprisingly offered the handshake to his opponent, only for it to be a ruse as he sucker punched Cena out of spite and tried to end him with a beatdown. Cena, however, had other plans as he would fend off Y2J's attack and send him packing. The rookie would then get his first televised main roster victory in a big way when he teamed with The Undertaker to defeat Angle and Jericho, pinning Y2J clean via a roll-up. This obviously didn't sit well with the former undisputed champion, and a brawl would break out after the match, with The Rock getting involved and taking everybody out. Cena and Jericho would get the chance to settle the score the following week in a one-on-one rematch, but Jericho, afraid that he might get embarrassed again, decided to go low, ending the bout in a disqualification finish. He then brutally assaulted the rookie, leading to another rematch being made for the upcoming pay-per-view. And at Vengeance, John Cena pulled off the biggest upset of his career at that point as he got another roll-up victory over Y2J. In theory, this win should have propelled him to the next level, maybe being put on a program with another top star, or even going after the Intercontinental title. Unfortunately, there's just one big glaring problem. Fans did not care about John Cena at all, not yet at least. He desperately tried to establish a connection with fans by wearing trunks that matched the color of the town's sports team, but that just further exposed him for what he truly was, a generic white meat babyface with zero personality. And once that initial hype of his debut went down, so did Cena's placement in the card. In the months that followed, Cena would bounce around the lower card with no clear direction, often being used as space filler for random matches. By September of that year, he found himself appearing more and more on SmackDown's C-Show Velocity, and at that point, the writing was on the wall. He would later be put in a short program with Billy Kidman as the two joined forces to enter a tournament to crown the inaugural WWE Tag Team Champions. Sadly, they wouldn't make it that far, losing in the first round to Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle, and John Cena, out of disappointment, would turn on his partner, blaming him for the loss. This set up a singles clash between the two, with John picking up the first victory and Kidman getting his win back the week after. They would have the rubber match at the Rebellion pay-per-view in an intergender bout in which John Cena and his partner Dawn Marie lost to the duo of Billy Kidman and Tori Wilson. Cena's heel turn didn't do much in the way of garnering attention from fans, unfortunately, and around this time, he was informed by management that he would be part of the talent cuts by the end of the year. However, he never ended up getting fired, as something would happen shortly after that would alter the course of his career forever. On a fateful bus ride during Cena's last European tour with the company, Stephanie McMahon by happenstance heard John freestyle rapping along with some of the other superstars. She was so impressed by it that she asked if he wanna do it on live TV, which he unsurprisingly agreed to. And thus, the Doctor of Thuganomics was born, and the rest, as they say, is history. So how bad was the prototype gimmick actually? If I was to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. Let me explain why. Honestly, for someone just starting in the business, there are far worse gimmicks you can have than the prototype. His run in OVW definitely showed a lot of promise, with him being that cocky, narcissistic heel who can cut promos like he's a 10-year veteran. And yet, when he got to the main roster, all of that bravado seemed to disappear, and he just became this generic babyface rookie who's trying to earn the respect of everyone. Sure, his whole Ruthless aggression debut got everyone buzzing, but he never really quite did anything after that to make fans care about him, and that's why he quickly fell to the wayside. And that's why the Doctor of Thuganomics was so integral to John's career, because it gave him that edge and that confidence we've already seen from his OVW days. It's almost like one of those things happen for a reason moments, where he had to reach rock bottom and be on the verge of getting fired before finding that spark that would elevate him to greatness. But what did you think of John Cena's prototype gimmick? Let me know in the comments below. And if you wanna see more How Bad videos, check out the next one in your screen. See you there.